Hi there, in this video I'm going to show you how to smoke up some delicious, juicy, succulent beef ribs. Hi there, I hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. In this video we're going to be smoking up some beef ribs in the Stretch by JAGRD Wood Fired. If you're new to the channel, my name's Ben, this is Smoking Hot Confessions, and we are all about barbecue. We've got our award-winning podcast published every Thursday, we've got cooking videos every Saturday, and we've got tips videos every Tuesday. So make sure you hit that little subscribe button, hit that little notification bell to be kept up to date with all things barbecue. Beef ribs would have to be one of my favourites to do. They're virtually set and forget, there's minimal prep, but they're one of the most flavourful, juicy, traditional tasting barbecue proteins that you're ever going to put in your mouth. Now, getting into our beef ribs, there's a couple of things you need to know before we get started. First of all, they're going to come in vacuum sealed packs most likely, and they come in sets of 2 with 3 bones in each set. So there's actually quite a lot of meat here that you're getting for your money. Now, when you're looking for these in the shop, it can be a little bit tricky because they are wrapped in this vacuum sealed plastic. But if you roll them over onto the side, you want to have a look and look for the marble striations through here. You want to look for the fat in the meat. That's where the flavor is, that's where the juiciness is going to be, that's what we want. You're also looking for some decent thickness and average widths all the way across. You want like a good sort of 4 to 5 centimeters across each rack. That will cook down throughout the day, but you want to be starting off with something nice and even so you get a nice finish throughout the whole piece of meat. There are a few tools that we do recommend for this job. You want a nice steel and you want a nice boning knife, nice flexible blade. And you just want to give that a couple of licks just to freshen up the edge on your knife, just to get that good and sharp again. So today I'm using some beautiful Cape Grim beef ribs from Tasmania. I picked them up from Super Butcher. Cape Grim is a personal favourite of mine. They're always juicy, they're always well marbled, they're always succulent, and they're just fantastic starter barbecue material. One thing that I always do when I trim beef ribs is I like to try and take this layer off the top. First of all, we want to make sure we get any hard fat. So you can see there's soft fat over here and hard fat over there. The hard fat definitely wants to go, but I'm actually going to go all the way under the fat and I'm going to get the silver skin under the fat. You're going to see that happen in a minute. That's going to let me make sure that rub gets all the way down onto the meat to give us maximum flavor and maximum bar. The trick here is to try and not take too much of the meat off. Now, you may end up leaving just a little thin layer of meat on the underside of this silver skin, but you just want to be real careful, and that's why we make sure we put that edge back on the blade so that we can get in there nice and shallow and get in underneath and take it off nice and carefully. So this is where things are going to get just a little bit trickier. You can see on this third bone down here, it's a lot thinner than these other ones at the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a reasonable amount of fat on there just to try and protect the meat underneath a bit more, so the meat underneath doesn't cook and dry out while this is still cooking at the top here. There's the first one. Now there is one last trick I need to teach you before we start to season these up. That is, on the back, there's this thick, heavy membrane. There are a lot of people that want to take this off, and if you want to do that, that's fine. You just get the blade of your boning knife in, slide it between the bone and the membrane, pry it off. Now you can go through all that if you want to. It does take a little bit of a while, but it's not hugely difficult. I, however, like to just knock off any little bits of fat. As we said before, if there's any hard fat on the back, so you can see this one's got a bit. Just knock off a bit of that fat, and then what I like to do is just simply score diagonally in hashtags across the back. Now what happens is if you don't score that, as the meat cooks, that membrane contracts and your ribs can curl like this. So what this ensures is that the ribs will stay nice and flat and they'll cook nice and evenly and they'll present better. When it comes to seasoning up beef ribs, you want something nice and savory. Salt, pepper, some garlic, some onion, maybe even some powdered celery. You can keep it nice and simple and just go with fresh sea salt flakes and some fresh cracked pepper. But today, we're gonna go with some special beef rubs. My mate Trev sent me these from deep southeast. We've got Trigger Happy, which is a dark rub, and we've got Angry Beef Rub, which is a red rub. So it's gonna be interesting to see the difference in color as these two cook out. Now you want to make sure, as with all my videos, that you give your meat a nice even coverage of rub. So I always like to keep one hand clean for holding the rub bottle, and the other hand, I don't mind giving a bit of a pat just to press that in there. Make sure that you get all the edges of the ribs as well. Look at that, beautiful. Now you'll notice that this rub is quite dark. That's because it's got activated charcoal in it. Now the reason we use it though is to get that beautiful black colouring in the bark around the outside of the meat. It's going to contrast against the smoke ring and the colour of the meat itself fantastically. It just looks like a thin layer of black lace around the outside, but I'll show you that a bit later on. And now we're ready to go in the smoker. We're doing this today in the stretch smoker oven from JAGRD. Check out my previous videos about it. It's a really cool bit of kit. Now we're going to be running it today at 275, and that should take about 6 to 8 hours for these beef ribs to cook. But before I put them in, the wood we're using today, I'm using Aussie ironbark. It's a really hard timber, it's very dense, great for low and slow barbecue. This has come from Ministry of Smoke. It splits, it smells fantastic, it's good, heavy, dry hardwood. Now for the flavour wood today, I'm going to be using some beautiful cherry wood, also from Ministry of Smoke. You can see it's beautifully pale and light on the inside, dark on the outside, and what the cherry wood does is that helps sort of darken up the bark, but it also gives a real deep, almost purple look to the smoke ring. So I think these beef ribs are going to look aces when they're done. Okay, so we're about 4 hours in now, which means it's time to open it up and have a look. Now at the 4-hour mark, it should be in the stall now. So what that means is the meat will be between 160 and 170. That's the period where the evaporative cooling off the surface of the meat means that it feels like the meat's not gonna increase in temperature in a hurry. And so there's a couple of things we can do, but I'm just gonna check the temperature first and we're gonna have a look. Ooh. Now just to recap from earlier today, that was the red rub on the right and the black rub on the left. Now we're just gonna quickly probe it for temperature. Bang on 160, bit higher there, 170. I can already feel that these ribs are quite soft. We're at 165 over here. So these are already starting to soften. It's time to give them the wrap. Okay, now at this point in the cook, this is when things start getting exciting. It's smelling great, it's looking great. The internal temperature is at the safe temperature for beef. But I gotta tell you, you don't wanna eat it yet. You wanna keep it going to 203. Trust me, 203 is where the magic is at. But at this point, you've got three choices. You can either leave them in the smoker, let them ride. Beef ribs are one of the particular meats where you don't have to worry about wrapping. If you do wanna wrap, you've got two choices, foil or paper. If you're cooking something like brisket or pulled pork where keeping all those juices in there is important, then you're gonna wanna use foil. Beef ribs, it doesn't matter, so I'm gonna use paper. Paper's gonna let me speed the next part of the cook up without sacrificing that bark, and I don't need to worry about any juices that might escape. And this is super easy to do. Now that these are wrapped up, they're ready to go back in the smoker. We're gonna keep that temperature at 275 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna check them again in about 2 hours. Let's chuck them back in. So it's been a while, but we're all done. These beef ribs have hit that temperature of 203, which I promise you is just magic when it comes to things like brisket or beef ribs. So we're gonna open these up and take a look. Now, I know I've talked to you about the importance of these instant read thermometers before, but this is the final sign. Will it simply... Ooh, straight through. Ooh, straight through to the bone as well. They are literally probing like butter. That is like a hot knife going through butter. These are gonna be so soft and so juicy. I'm so excited. So this is kind of interesting. The one on our left here was the one that was done in the black rub from Deep Southeast, and the one on the right is done in the red rub. Now you can see the black rub's got that really sort of dark bark on the outside that's a favorite of competitions. Backyard barbecue is not as important, but I tell you what, it's still got that, oh, look at that wobble. It's still got that delicious crust on the outside. Ooh, so good. There it is. Look at that. That's a hallmark of a good rib. Slides right out. Beautiful. Okay, now there's two schools of thought when it comes to cutting a beef rib. If you've still got bones in it, some people like to cut along the bones that way or between the bones and then pick it up like a caveman and just eat it. The other school of thought is to cut it crossways into slices. So, let's do one of each and see what it looks like. Oh. That is so soft. Look at that. Look how soft that is. Rib meat is some of the toughest meat on the cow, and just have a look at that. Oh. Yeah, look at that. All right, folks, there you have it. That was how to smoke some delicious, soft, juicy beef ribs. How good do these look? And I've said it before and I'll say it again, these are the easiest thing for a beginner barbecuer to do. So if you're out there, you're just at the start of your barbecue journey, head on over to SmokingHotConfessions.com, grab your free ebook, The Beginner's Guide to Real Barbecue. It's got a step-by-step guide in how to do exactly what we've done here today with these beef ribs. Now you know there's only one thing left I gotta do. I gotta get a piece of that into me. That is deliriously good. There's that crunchy bark on the outside, there's the sweet beef on the inside, the richness of that beef flavor really comes out when you cook it this way. It's juicy, it's soft, it's moist, it's everything you want, and just, so good. So that's it, head on over to SmokingHotConfessions.com. We've got a bunch of write-ups about how to do beef ribs. Check them out and get some of them into you as well. So until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.